Hi, this is Deborah from MediaNiteRadio, and I have the pleasure of having Gary Green and Charles Averett with me for the California Music Hall of Fame, and they're both being inducted into it. How amazing is this night for you guys? How does it feel?
It's amazing for me to induct Gary. I'm presenting him, but I'm dazzled. And so, well, I've always been dazzled by him. And I'm very happy that he's finally being acknowledged as one of the premier contributors to folk music in America. So, yeah, wow. It's a great day.
How does it feel, Gary?
How do I follow up that? I mean, how do I follow up? How do I live up to that? But this really is awesome. I mean, this is just amazing. I mean, I was listening to the sound checks out there. There are some serious rock and rollers out there. There is some real music in the house. And for this hillbilly folk singer poet to be there, I'm just blown away. So yeah, it's very cool.
Absolutely. Now, how important is music in schools?
In school, oh my God. Well, first of all, that's a loaded question to me. My mother was a public school music teacher. So, you know, how important is it? Well, you know, I grew up with it.
Right.
It's extremely important. And that's a great question because it's tragic right now that school budgets are cutting back on arts funds. Right. And so we have to turn to organizations like this and beg for money to put toward music programs, to put towards all of the arts programs, to put toward drama. Right. So it's extremely important. You know, I saw a statistic recently that in the top 10 countries in the world that support arts in education, in the top 10, we're not in it. The United States is not in it. We are number 53.
Oh, that's
of countries worldwide supporting the arts in schools. It makes me crazy.
Yeah, because you would think that the United States would be in the top 10.
One would think.
Right. What kind of advice would you give to someone who was thinking about getting into music seriously right now?
You know, this is 100% cliche, and every person you interview is going to give you the same answer, but it's really true. Don't give up. No matter what. Let me tell you, before I was fortunate enough to sign with Folkways Records in New York, I was almost literally thrown out physically of every record company in Nashville, a lot of them in New York City, a lot of them in LA out here, and it's just don't give up because eventually somebody's going to hear what you've got there, and the world changes.
That's amazing, and you have worked with such an amazing line of performers. Johnny Cash, you were in his living room, writing with him. Tupac Shakur. I mean, you range. It's amazing.
I've been very fortunate to either be, and I'm going to say this later too, that I've either been in the right place at the right time or the wrong place at the right time. But no matter how you look at it, I've been very fortunate to just be at the right place. I mean, yeah, I was in Johnny Cash's living room. It's not because I'm a great singer-songwriter or anything. It's because I live down the street from Johnny Cash in Nashville. Tupac and I spent a whole lot of time together, but the reason we did is because his mother was in the Black Panther Party, and I used to sing at rallies for the Black Panther Party, and she said, hey, I've got this 15-year-old son you need to know and talk to. So yeah, I was fortunate to be in the right place at the right time, and it just all mushroomed.
It's so interesting because you're a folk singer and you were working with Tupac, which is a totally different.
You know, here's the thing about that. When I hear a folk singer, I think in the commercial sense, I think Peter, Paul, and Mary, and you know, harmonic, nice folk singers. For me, and what I've always been, I wanted to be somebody that changed the world. Whether I'm using my keyboard to do it typing, or whether I'm playing a guitar or a piano or something, I wanted to be a guy that changed the world. And the medium that I was most successful in doing it in front of literally hundreds of thousands of people was guitar, no amplifier, singing political songs, trying to incite them. Well, tell me how that's different from Tupac. And that's why he and I hit it off. That's why he hung around my coffee house in Baltimore for all those years. It's because he wanted to be, as he put it quite accurately, a cultural revolutionary. And so that, it fits. Whether the form of it is folk or rock or country or hip hop or whatever,
Right.
it's the content.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you want your legacy to live on, Gary?
Again, the right place at the right time. I've been very fortunate for a couple of things. First of all, my albums are now part of the Smithsonian in Washington.
Wow.
And that deal with Smithsonian is 100 years from now, my albums will never be out of print. When you're on the more commercial record labels, if you're on Sony Records, which is a great label, lots of cool people on it, but after they're not selling enough copies, Sony pulls it from the library. In the old days when it was vinyl, you used to be able to find them in the cutout bins at Kmart for 33 cents. But the deal with Smithsonian is my albums will never not be available to the public. So 200 years from now, somebody can go to the Smithsonian and pull a Gary Green album out. That
was the deal that the Smithsonian made with Mo Ash.
Exactly.
And Mo Ash must have heard something in you that he thought the world needed to have preserved. So when he sold the Folkways catalog to the Smithsonian, it came with the caveat that everything that was in print had to remain in print in perpetuity. And so Gary's 3, 4, 5, I don't know how many he has there, but they'll all be available forever. And that importance of music is why Gary got picked by Mo. It's like everyone, you said you went to other labels and they didn't take you. Everyone who walked into Folkways didn't get a record. But you got 3.
That's
Because you had, what Mo would say? You had something to say.
And Mo said that very famously in an interview in Rolling Stone. Jim Capaldi, who created the Hall of Fame band Traffic.
Oh, yeah.
He was interviewing Mo, and he said in a very pointed interview, which I sort of cringed when I heard it, but he said, Mr. Ash, why did you turn down Bruce Springsteen and Bob Dylan, but you recorded Gary Green? Why would you do that? and what Mo said is just what Charles said here. He said, well, Gary Green had something to say, and I want people to hear it today, and I want people to hear it for all times. People need to hear this message. That's why I recorded him. So when people ask me, what kind of musician are you? Man, I'm not a musician. I'm a little hillbilly poet. I just have a few things to say, and it's all about the words. You want to hear some musicians? Listen to these other people that are being inducted tonight, because these are serious rock and roll musicians. These are good people.
And without denigrating what all the other musicians are doing, Mo's measurement was, is the music important? He would. I worked for Folkways. I grew up Folkways over a 30-year period. Mo was a mentor to me through my adolescence and teen and my first 2 marriages, etc. I didn't need to mention that part, did I? But he would often come out of the office and he'd hold a tape or something, and he would say, "This is important." And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's important. But that was, if you are on Folkways as an artist, there's something unique that you're doing that in Mo's measurement haven't seen all these other, because he ranges from Pete Seeger to Woody Guthrie to Hetty Leadbelly, Rev Kirkpatrick. What is this young lady's name who plays the piano? Anyway,
there's just so many.
There's so many artists that to be pulled out from all the people coming in. I auditioned the tapes that were sent, and I threw most of them in the garbage because they're not Folkways. And people would come into the office and want to see Mo, and they walked out. But you walked in, and you stayed. And you stayed for 3 albums. That's an accomplishment. Whether you recognized it or not, Mo, he was nice, smiled, but it wasn't, I'm giving everybody a record time.
Look, at that time,
Mary Lou Williams is on.
Yeah, right. At that time, Mo wasn't, he had signed people and he wasn't giving them advances or anything. And I must have looked like really desperate and pitiful because he wrote me a big advance check. And I didn't know that he didn't write these big advance checks. I thought, hey, it's the record business, got me an advance. And literally 55 years later, I'm talking to Charles and I was telling him this, and he said, oh my God, you got one of the checks? I mean, he must have really liked you.
Well, thank you so much
you.
for being here, and congratulations.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.